Good evening, everyone. I am Anand Kumar, practicing in Delhi High Court. On behalf of our team, AP Legal Chambers, and on my personal behalf, I welcome you all for this third and special webinar of the series to celebrate World Environment Day. The special topic for today is the role of NGT in environment law by our special speaker, Advocate Nagendra Benipalji, Member Executive of the prestigious Delhi High Court Bar Association and Senior Panel Counsel for the Government of India. I hope you are all doing well. Thank you for your overwhelming response for this event, and I owe the entire credit of this response to our special speaker, Advocate Nagendraji. We at AP Legal Chambers started this webinar out of our passion for law, and now, due to this tremendous response from the participants, we have made it a point to conduct the webinars on every Thursdays and Sundays. For those who are attending our webinars regularly, you might be knowing about our firm. For those who have come for the first time, AP Legal Chambers is one of the young and dynamic law firms in Delhi NCR with its branch office in Chennai. APLC specializes in income tax laws, international taxation, GST, corporate and commercial laws, IPR, energy laws, mergers and acquisitions. I would like to make a few things clear to all the participants before the webinar starts. Kindly enable mute from your end and do not mute in between the session. And if it is okay for you people, you can also block your video. Opportunity will be given to all the interested participants to ask questions after the special speaker's presentation. If there is any trouble in viewing this webinar, disconnect and try connecting again. Before I start introducing our special speaker, I would like to specially thank a few patrons who have been extending their continuous support to all our webinars. Major General Nirendra Kumar Sir, former Director, Amity Law School, Advocate Anukriti Parikhji, Advocate on Record, Supreme Court of India, Professor Aarti Ratna, School of Excellence in Law, Chennai, Assistant Professor Arun Kumar Subramaniam, Fairfield Institute of Management and Technology, Professor Ankit Rai, IMS Noida, Professor Shrinkla Swaroop, Prestige Institute of Management and Research, Indore, Dr. Ausaf Ahmad Malik, SRMS College of Law, Bareilly, Professor Vijender Bhatt, SMVITM, Bhantkal. I take immense pleasure in welcoming our special speaker, Advocate Nagendra Benipalji. When we approached him, he did not even think for a second to accept our invitation, and he immediately said yes and supported for our cause. He also gave us his valuable inputs. In spite of his busy schedule and responsibilities as member executive of the Delhi High Court Bar Association, he has spared 1.5 hours time of his valuable time for transferring the knowledge to all the participants of this webinar. I would like to briefly tell about our special speaker's profile. He is presently the member executive of the prestigious Delhi High Court Bar Association. Our special speaker has been practicing since 2009 before the Honorable Supreme Court of India, High Court of Delhi, National Green Tribunal, National Company Law Appellate Tribunal, and National Company Law Tribunals, and appearing before various arbitral tribunals. He is the Senior Panel Counsel for the Government of India, Standing Counsel for Punjab Pollution Control Board, Standing Counsel for SICOM, Ministry of Environment and Forest, Panel Counsel, Municipal Corporation of Punjab and Delhi, and Standing Counsel, Punjab Municipal Infrastructure and Development Corporation. The salient matters he has handled includes MC Mehta vs Union of India case. He represented Punjab government before the Supreme Court of India in the 2000cc diesel ban Delhi air pollution case. In the Punjab Pollution Control Board, he is presently representing PPCB before the Honorable Supreme Court of India, Delhi High Court and National Green Tribunal in the Delhi air pollution matter concerning stubble burning. He is regularly representing the Union of India, appearing before the Delhi High Court in matters relating to service, recruitment, policy matters of Government of India, etc. In the All India Council for Technical Education, he represented AICTE before High Court of Delhi in matters relating to affiliation of technical institutes all over India. In the Land and Development Office, he represented LNDO before High Court of Delhi. In National Food Security Act, he represented the central government in fixing of margin money to be paid to fair price shops engaged in sale of food grains under the National Food Security Act. In the Kingfisher Airlines versus Punjab National Bank and others, he represented Government of India before the Delhi High Court in willful defaulters matter against Kingfisher Airlines and its guarantors United Breweries Holdings Limited and Vijay Mallya. In Ajay Makkan versus Union of India and others, he represented the central government in Ajay Makkan's petition against Delhi government for misusing public funds in political advertisements. This was the first matter wherein a three-member body was constituted under the Government Advertisement Guidelines 2014. In MLA Surender Singh versus NDMC and others, he defended the stand of central government that power to nominate a person for the post of Vice Chairman NDMC lies with central government as per section 4(1)(b) and section 4 subsection 4 of the New Delhi Municipal Council Act. In Lalit Kumar Modi versus Union of India and others, he represented central government before Delhi High Court, wherein central government revoked the passport of Lalit Kumar Modi on account of his failure to appear before the Directorate of Enforcement despite receiving summons under section 37 of FEMA. In the Hotel Queen Road P Limited versus Union of India and another, he represented LNDO before High Court of Delhi and defended its conversion policy dated 6/8/2003. In the GMR Chhattisgarh Energy Limited versus Union of India and others, our special speaker represented Central Electricity Authority before High Court of Delhi in matters relating to shifting to the port of coal import from Vizag to Western Port. In the Delhi International Airport Private Limited versus Union of India and others, he represented Airport Authority of India before High Court of Delhi and defended the provisions of 65 subsection 90A and section 65 subsection 105 of the said Finance Act 1994 as amended by the Finance Act 2007. In Cipla Limited and another versus Union of India and others, he represented drug price control before the High Court of Delhi. In the Food Corporation of India Workers Association versus Ministry of Labour and Employment, he is representing the Ministry of Labour and Employment before the High Court of Delhi. The list here is endless, and even the entire session of 1.5 hours will not be sufficient to tell the cases our special speaker has handled. Now, as a normal procedure or norm which we follow in our webinars, I would like to tell a brief introduction about the NGT before handing over the session to our special speaker, Shri Nagendra ji. Our today's topic is special because it is falling in tune with the World Environment Day, which happened a few days back. National Green Tribunal is a tribunal established by our government for protecting our environment, and also it has been established in the year 2010 under the National Green Tribunal Act 2010 for effective and expeditious disposal of cases relating to environmental protection and conservation of forest and other natural resources, including enforcement of any legal rights relating to environment and giving relief and compensation for damages to persons and property and for matters connected therein or incidents thereto. It is a specialized body equipped with the necessary expertise to handle environment disputes involving multidisciplinary issues. The tribunal shall not be bound by the procedures laid down by the Code of Civil Procedures 1908, but shall be guided by the principles of natural justice. So with this brief introduction about the NGT, I hand over this session to our special speaker, Advocate Nagendra ji, to take up this matter from the place where he feels it comfortable and pass on the necessary information and knowledge to all the participants here. Thank you. Over to you, sir.
Is to sensitize the legal fraternity to really know what the environment is all about. I am thankful to AP Legal Chambers and Anand Kumar specially for giving me the opportunity to share my experiences with you on the very special occasion of World Environment Day. World Environment Day is to remind us of the wrong we did to our environment and the right we need to do to correct it all. Earth is like our home and we must take efforts to keep it clean and green. My topic is role of NGT in environmental laws. Right to clean air and water is our fundamental right. And it is clearly stated in the Constitution of India that it is the duty of the state to protect and improve the environment and to safeguard the forests and wildlife of the country. Rapid growing population and economic development are contributing too many serious environment calamities in India. These include heavy pressure on land, land degradation, forest degradation, and loss of biodiversity. The final outcome of this are one, air pollution, second, water pollution, third, global warming, and fourth is climate change. To safeguard the environment, government works on the concept of environment protection and sustainable development. In the year of 1980, the government of India, first time in the history, established the Department of Environment to ensure a healthy environment for the country. The Department of Environment later was converted to a full-fledged ministry, which was known as Ministry of Environment and Forests. Nowadays, because of global warming, this Ministry of Environment and Forest is changed into the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, MOEF and CC. The government of India enacted many laws to safeguard the environment like Air Pollution Protection Act, Water Pollution Protection Act, Municipal Solid Waste Rules, Construction and Demolition Rules, Medical Waste Management Rules. These days, these medical waste management rules are very relevant because we can see it is all over the newspapers and electronic media that many hospitals, they are disposing of their PPE kits and other medical equipments into the garbage boxes, which are contrary to the medical waste management rules. So as per the medical waste management rules, hospitals are supposed to dispose of all the medical waste scientifically, which they are not doing it. And we have complained it to the government. If government fails to take any action against the hospitals, then definitely will move to the courts. And thereafter, a large number of laws came into existence as the problems began raising. As per me, revolution in the field of environment came in the year 2010, when one of the boldest steps was taken by Indian Parliament to enact law like NGT Act 2010. I don't know whether it is a mistake or a conscious attempt, but either way, I will compliment the Indian Parliament for doing this. This is a great statute for environment safeguards, and it is the best in environment law. And in the entire world, it is a tribunal of its own kind. If you happen to look at the NGT Act ever, read the definition of environment. Once you have read it, can you think what can escape from it? You cannot live without nature, but nature can exist without you. That's what the definition is. There is nothing that can be missed. A tree is a living creature, therefore it is covered. A rat is a living creature, therefore it is covered. That is the dimension of jurisdiction that is vested in the National Green Tribunal. As per my mind, this is the best thing government has created to safeguard the environment as of today in our country. With the establishment of NGT, India became the third country to have established a dedicated environmental code. only after Australia and New Zealand, and the first developing country to do so. NGT has come a long way since its establishment in the year 2010. NGT at present has 4 zonal benches: Bhopal, Pune, Chennai, Kolkata, and a principal bench at New Delhi. NGT has a wide jurisdiction to deal with not only violations of environmental laws, but also to provide the compensation, relief, and restoration of the ecology in accordance with the statutory principles stated in Section 20 of the National Green Tribunal Act 2010, which are number one, which is very important, polluter pay principle. Second is precautionary principle. And third one is sustainable development. All the judgments, all the landmark judgments of NGT are based on these three principles. And NGT runs on these three principles, and government should also run on these three principles. The composition of NGT is very unique, as it comprises of equal number of judicial and expert members. These expert members are from the field of environment. They had served in forest department, in environment ministry. They are the retired IAS officers, IFS officers who are there in the bench as expert members. This balanced composition has led to the emergence of NGT as a specialized institution which has exercised its expertise in dealing with environmental cases involving multidisciplinary issues. For example, for assessing the impact on the activities of the big multinational corporates, the tribunal has not only looked at the pollution of the natural resources, but also looked at the impact on the local communities with respect to livelihood, health, and employment. The NGT has been lauded for its landmark judgments, like Anand has earlier mentioned. So, one of the judgment is River Ganga rejuvenation, which is very important. Tribunal thoroughly examined the waste composition of the each water stream which discharges effluent to the Ganga. Specific directions were issued as how to tackle pollution in these streams. Further, the tribunal declared an area of 100 meters from the edge of the river as no development zone and prohibited waste dumping within 500 meters from the rivers in India. The NGT has not only concerned itself with going after the big corporates, but also paid heed to the problems of the people in their daily lives. In the case of Dilip B. Nevatia versus Union of India, I think in the year of 2014, when Justice Tantar Kumar was the chairperson of National Green Tribunal, Tribunal ordered the Ministry of Road, Transport and Highway to lay down the standards for sirens and multi-tone horns, which are used by different vehicles. Nowadays, we can see there is very less noise pollution on the roads of India. This is only after National Green Tribunal passed the order, and these orders were followed by a number of notifications by the government of India, and a certain decibels were fixed for the sirens and horns used in multi vehicles. NGT also played an important role in the reduction of pollution in Delhi. In the case of Vardhaman Kaushik versus Union of India, it is one of the highlighted and very important case to know what the environmental laws are. The NGT directed a committee to prepare an action plan. This committee was later upheld by the Honorable Supreme Court of India, and Mr. Bhurelal was made the chairman of this committee, and nowadays this committee is known as Bhurelal Committee. And Honorable NGT, as an interim measure, ordered that the vehicles which are more than 15 years old would not be allowed to ply or be parked on the roads of Delhi. Further, in the field of sustainable development, in Muruganandan versus Union of India and others, the environmental clearance granted by the Ministry of Environment and Forest to the Tamil Nadu Power Company Limited was challenged. The ground for challenge was that cumulative environment impact assessment CEIA was not adhering to universally accepted scientific parameters and therefore bad in law. This was contested on the ground that under Indian environment legislation scenario, there are no known universally accepted scientific parameters for CEIA. First, the NGT categorically found that CEIA was required as per the precautionary principle and sustainable development. Secondly, it is stated that the value of foreign judgment depends upon the persuasive force to their reasoning, taking the example of the principle of sustainable development and precautionary principle both development in international law and demonstrated in Indian law. The tribunal forcefully argued that international standards may be applied in the context if so required. The NGT's keenness to adopt international practices and standards and adapt them to Indian circumstances is a welcome development. It reflects judicial acumen in using a well-grounded example to support such a step. In many ways, it also preserves the interpretive flexibility of the NGT. In the case of Jeet Singh Kanwar and others versus MOEF and others, environment clearance was granted by MOEF for the installation and operation of a power plant in the village Dhanras in the state of Chhattisgarh, was challenged by two residents of that village. The court relied on a judgment of the Supreme Court relating to the mining activity in Delhi-Haryana border and quoted, when in doubt, and it is very relevant and very important, that when in doubt as to environmental aspect of allowing an activity or the negative economic impact of stopping as activity, then protection of environment would take precedence over economic interest. This is very important, that environment would take precedence over economic interest. And again, applying the preventive principle, the NGT ruled the well laid out burden of proof that whoever is proposing change will have to adduce the evidence that proposed development is sustainable. And in this case, project proponent failed to discharge such a burden of proof, and this case was ultimately allowed. As per the study conducted by me, it has been estimated that India's population will reach 1.7 billion by 2050. In that case, the country is likely to face a widening ecological deficit, even if its current per capita level sources consumption remains the same. Therefore, Indian society to continue prosper in an increasingly resource constrained world, we must work actively to protect the natural capital on which India's economy and human life depends. We are not giving respect to the nature what we ought to have given, and the consequences you are seeing in front of yourself. The environment, the air pollution, we see Delhi, we face Delhi, who are living in Delhi. I wonder if any of you would be passing the year without taking antibiotic at least twice a year. Why is it so? Is there something wrong somewhere? Or is it just what we normally blame as climate change and greenhouse gases? Since it requires serious consideration, it is to be seen which are the institutions in our society which can consider these issues. One is the parliamentarians and other is the judiciary, because executive is expected to implement whatever both these wings, the pillars of the constitutions, will decide. And at the end, I want to introduce you to the basic problem in Delhi: air pollution. There is a pediatric cardiosurgeon from Agra who filed a case in NGT. He has collected data and his data is supported by Delhi Pollution Control Committee as well as the Central Pollution Control Board. They are not challenging it. In fact, to a great extent, their data fully supports the data of the applicant. According to him, he has conducted surveys all over India in major towns, and as far as Delhi is concerned, his apprehensions, which is scientifically analyzable and is well based, is that every child born in Delhi with 5 years of his birth, would be asthmatic no matter what you do. This is a very sorry stage of, that is the kind of environment we are living in. Therefore, you have to think, how does such situation arises? Even if he is wrong, he may not be fully wrong. Maybe 60% what he said is wrong. Is this what intergeneration equity requires us to do? The fundamental principle of intergeneration equity is that you must pass on the earth to the next generation in better condition that what you have got, or at least in the condition you have got. Thank you everyone for listening to me and my experiences, and I shall be happy to answer your queries. Mr. Anand, now you can ask me the queries.
Thank you, sir, for this wonderful session. Keeping in mind the contemporary issues which we are all facing today, you have covered almost all the subjects, right from the evolution of the requirement for a national green tribunal and how India pioneered in the race of establishing national green tribunals in developing countries as such. In fact, we are all proud, at least for the sake of it, that we are the third country in the whole world to start national green tribunal.
And first developing country to do so.
Yes, the first developing country to do so. We are indeed proud, but at the same time, a larger question looms whether the actual purpose for which we started this NGT is being justified. Whether the purpose or the factors which affect our environment are being considered, or whether it is just an eyewash in front of the international community. In fact, there have been a lot of questions being continuously raised by the environmentalists and those who are concerning the protection of environment, wildlife and other natural resources. In fact, it is not surprising that most of the cases where the forest or this protected forests are there, there has been a constant infuse of human population and cutting of trees and taking away of natural resources from the forests. And I think it is very well covered in this presentation. The contemporary policies that are to be adopted also, like how we started it way back, and what are the environment, what is environment in principle you have covered. Actually, the entire NGT is covering what is environment in detail, and I request all the participants here, whenever they find time, to go through the National Green Tribunal manual also. And it is also a very alarming question in front of us regarding the climate change. What is that each and every individual is going to do from their bit for making our earth a far better place to live. In fact, I think, in my personal opinion, this lockdown and this pandemic as a whole
has nurtured our nature and resulted in cooling of effect in the nature as a whole. We have been staying indoors, we have not been flying, we have been not polluting our environment, air pollution, water pollution, noise pollution, everything has been kept under control. And I sincerely hope this we take this lesson forward and at least concentrate on how to protect our environment and how to actually control this pollution. In fact, in my personal opinion, if I say, it will not be a bad idea to at least enforce lockdown at least on particular days throughout in a year on a particular days, to at least conserve our Mother Earth. In fact, this is one of the points which you told is shocking as well as saddening to know about the plight of newborn babies. It is indeed a sad reality in which we are living. And one more point which I would like to touch upon here is passing our Mother Earth to our successors, like how we received from our predecessors. It is one of the important things which we forget. We think this earth is our own property and misuse it according to our whims and fancies. In fact, we have been given this Mother Earth by our predecessors, preserving our nature and keeping intact all the important resources which they were given by their predecessors. Generation after generation, these people have always been considering about sustainable development. But we people here right now in the 20th and 21st century have been very greedy, and we have been always doing something for the want of money or for destructing of our natural resources. We did not care about the depleting nature of these natural resources. We have been, in fact, reckless in treating our wildlife and also reckless in treating our natural resources. Over the years, we have been witnessing a large number of killing of animals and this cutting of trees, pollution caused due to our vehicles. Without any prejudice, we are conducting our rallies and all. So I think this is the time to introspect whether what we are doing is correct or not. And with these points, I leave the floor to the participants to ask questions. Right now, we have got one question from Mr. Arun Kumar Subramaniam. He is assistant professor in FIMT. Vizag polymer case and what are the lessons learned in the Bhopal tragedy will be considered. That is, I think, while considering the Vizag polymer case, what are the points that the NGT will consider, keeping in mind the Bhopal tragedy which had happened a few years back? Yes, sir.
The first Department of Environment was created right after the Bhopal gas leak case in 1980. So, as per me, NGT has taken a action, and on the basis of polluter pay principle, NGT has directed the plant to pay 50 crore rupees as penalty, initial penalty. And now they are looking into the matter why this leak has happened. So after examining all the aspects and who failed to check whether it was a failure on government's part or it was a failure on the project proponent's part. So after looking into the matter, after discussing it in the detail, then only NGT will come to a conclusion, and whoever has done this, whoever has been faulty in implementing the orders, in implementing the environmental laws, will be punished. Not only with polluters pay principle, but also they have to rectify all their wrongs. They have to clean the environment also, because the polluter pay principle takes care of everything. As per the polluter pay principle, you have to make an assessment of the damage caused by the leak and what would be the procedure to undo that. So they will take all the precautions. First, they have to adjudicate the matter, and initially they have imposed a penalty of 50 crores on the plant. So they have received the amount as well. So now, after giving an opportunity of being heard only, NGT will pass final orders.
Still not able to forget the Bhopal matter. We are just trying to overcome what are the aspects that
Only Bhopal, after the Bhopal gas leak matter only, we sensitized the environmental laws in our country. Before that, there were no environmental laws. Department of Environment was created right after the Bhopal gas leak tragedy.
Yes, yes, sir. So moving on to the next question, it is by Survi Ghosh. Please enlighten us on the matters of Prachimara case and LG Polymers.
Prachimara case and LG Polymers. This matter is not filed in the principal bench of NGT, and I'm not aware of the facts of this case. If you can ask if this relates to polymer or if this relates to municipal solid waste, medical solid waste, then I can definitely answer. Please explain and your question first.
Yes, I request the attendees to be specific on the questions rather than asking general questions. Thank you for your questions, but I request you to be a bit specific on your questions. Next, Dr. A. Muhammad Rafi has asked, what is your opinion on formation of 8-way roads in Tamil Nadu? Does it really affect environment in these areas? Please give your opinion. In fact, I am one of the persons hailing from Tamil Nadu and practicing here in Delhi High Court. And this has been a constant point of discussion in almost all the news channels and debates, so-called debates about the formation of 8-way roads. So what is your take, sir?
Sustainable development is most welcome as far as these 8-way roads are concerned. So first, when government Ministry of Highway moves for the development of 8-way roads or 6-way roads, any widening of the roads, they have to take an environmental clearance from Ministry of Environment and Forest. So there is a whole study of the project, what kind of lands fall within and what kind of land is required to be taken for the widening of the roads. So after that, they study the environment assessment, and then the environment clearance is given to the project proponent. First, if you watch anything going wrong while developing that 8-way road, you have to move an application under RTI Act that what are the norms and conditions put for the widening of the road in environmental clearance. If they are flouting any conditions of the environment clearance, then definitely they would be in serious trouble. Nobody can flout that. So first we have to see the environmental clearance, then we have to see the consent of operate and consent of establishment letters issued by the concerned pollution control boards. These all environment clearance, consent to establishment, they all are in public domain. You can get these documents and you can see whether they are implementing it or not. And second thing, in widening the roads, alongside the road, mostly there are forest covers. So when you do widening of roads, you have to cut certain trees for widening. For that, as per the Forest Conservation Act, there is a concept of afforestation. What is afforestation is that when you cut a 1 acre of land of forest department, then you have to give 10 acres of land in lieu of that 1 acre, and you have to plant 10 times the trees which were cut during the development. So if they are doing it, then it's all right. If they are not doing it, then definitely you can come to the court and court will look into the matter. Mr. Anand, there is one question from Sangeeta Tag, as Mr. Anand is not available. She has said that in COVID-19 pandemic, it is clear that it is necessary to prevent pollution than to create. Moreover, if we see the environment became clear because factories were stopped, I am totally agree with you, Sangeeta, because the environment or air pollution, the sources of air pollution are: one is industrial pollution, second is construction, the dust due to the construction, third is vehicular pollution, fourth in Delhi is because of the nearby state stubble burning. So industrial pollution is the major factor, because second domestic waste, it was as it is during this COVID pandemic. Only industries were shut and vehicles were not plying on the roads. So these two factors are very major factors to be considered. It means industries in India, they are not following the environmental rules as per their consent to operate and consent to establishment. We are all legal practicing lawyers here or budding lawyers. I request you all to file RTIs wherever there is an industry. They have to take consent to operate from the concerned pollution control boards, file RTIs, take their consent to operate, kindly see their conditions. If they are not following the environmental norms, then you should file complaints before NGT or the concerned high courts of that particular state.
Thank you, sir. Actually, my line got disconnected from my end.
No issues, no issues. I have taken one question from Sangeeta of COVID-19. Rest of questions you can take, Mr. Anand.
Yes, sir.
And all the participants are most welcome, more than welcome. You can write an email to me and I will answer your all the queries in future also. And you can take my number from Mr. Anand and contact me anytime.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Just adding one more point which I wanted to tell you while we were discussing about the 8-way lane in Tamil Nadu. Yes. People are actually right now they have had this so-called problem in development. When there is something that is coming for new project is being implemented, there are few people, the so-called environmentalists, who always try to stop some development activities which the government introduces. So we have to strike a balance between the development at the same time considering the natural resources or the forest cover for that matter. So when we are cutting a particular tree here in one particular area, that has to be compensated, or that has to be this thing by planting 4 trees in some other area. So by this we can also...
There's a judgment by Supreme Court. Now you have to plant 10 trees if you cut 1.
Yes. Yes. Sir, I think which question you covered, sir, while you were discussing? Then I will start from the next question.
Sangeeta Tag.
Okay. Sir, Mr. Yogesh Kulkarni is asking, can High Court have jurisdiction to entertain appeals against the orders of the NGT?
No.
So I think this is plain and straightforward.
It is very clear. It is very clear and written in the NGT Act that appeal lies in the Honorable Supreme Court of India only. No High Court can entertain any appeal against the order of Honorable National Green Tribunal under Article 226 of Constitution.
Yes, thank you, sir. That was a plain and straightforward question. The next question is by Jay Jain. Sir, I agree that NGT is very much in the news for taking measures for controlling the pollution. But sir, as we study and we get to know that at the base level, the penalties and punishments for violating the environment laws are so deficient that the corporates and industrialists feel no hesitation in violating the laws. So why there is no concern towards increasing the penalties and make strict punishments? So this has been the case overall, not only particular to NGT. Sir, your take on this?
This is, as per my mind, this is the fault of implementing agencies who implements the orders of government or who implements the laws and orders of NGT. NGT also depends on expert bodies like pollution control boards, their municipal bodies to implement their orders, because pollution control board is known as the ears and eyes of the National Green Tribunal. If they fails to implement the orders, then definitely nowadays NGT is taking a very stringent view. They are penalizing the government agencies as well. So that's why nowadays they are very active and they are implementing the orders of NGT. So this has happened very lately. 2-3 months back, NGT has started putting fine on the government agencies as well.
So, of late, NGT is also realizing the importance of charging a penalty or fine in so that people will also understand that they will not be spared. Any industry or corporates for that matter will not be spared.
Sir, in India,
yes.
In India, I don't think there would be any industry who would be following the conditions put by the pollution control boards, or who would be following all the environmental laws. So if you want to study the laws, first go to the consent to operate and consent to establishment. The conditions put in under Air Act and Water Act and Hazardous Act. Nobody can comply with that. If they are not complying, the direct jurisdiction is National Green Tribunal.
Yes, sir. Sir, just adding one more point. Do you think is it practical or feasible for the corporates or the industries to follow the norms or the guidelines is quoted by NGT, or is it just too much of expectation from these parties?
Yes, this is very much feasible. It is only because the industrialists, they are not aware of the laws of environment. It is only due to the lack of knowledge. Otherwise, it is nothing. You have to just fit a equipment on your chimney for air pollution. It will not cost them more. They have to install ETPs, effluent treatment plants, which will not cost them. Otherwise, if they fail to put a ETP, then as per the principle of polluter pay, they have to pay much more than the cost of ETP. So they would definitely do it. This is only due to the lack of knowledge and lack of, I think I would say, environmental education in our country.
Sir, what do you think the government or the environmental boards as a whole need to do to educate or create awareness among these corporate people or the industrialists? So the so-called big wigs of the Indian industry, because when we compare the quantum of this thing damage caused by the common people vis-a-vis the damage caused by these industries, I think this is a far more graver concern that has to be addressed. People here started polluting Ganga when they started taking bath and started throwing all the wastes in Ganga itself. Now slowly government is educating them to not do such things. But is it also not duty on the part of the government to educate these or create awareness among these industries and corporates?
I think after NGT stepped in, so there's a lot of awareness these days, and we also need to follow certain things like when we talk about the waste management rules. In waste management rules, domestic waste is a big problem, because when we mix the wet waste and the dry waste, it is very difficult to segregate them. So government, everybody is educating the Indians or our people to segregate at source. When we should have two separate bins at our home. One is for the wet waste and one is for the dry waste. Then dry waste can be used for waste to energy plants. When it mixed up, then it is very difficult to segregate, and it cannot be used for waste to energy or anything else, for RDF or etc. But I think as far as awareness is concerned, NGT has done a tremendous job to spread the awareness in our country. Now, mostly everybody is aware of it, because these days it is affecting us. So after this COVID-19, everybody has realized how beautiful the environment is. As the water level of Ganga, the pollution of Ganga was 0%, and now it is 4%. The oxygen in Ganga, it was 10 years before, it was 4%. Now during this COVID-19, last 2-3 months, it has again come to 4%.
Yes, sir. I think each and every one of us has to play our part properly in this regard, whether it be it for segregating the solid or the wet waste, or for that matter any other pollutions which we cause knowingly or unknowingly. So it is time for us to step up and do a bit from our end for the protection of our environment. So adding the next question here, it is asked by Mr. Prasoon Vashishta. Principle of sustainable development has become more or less a meager condition just to be fulfilled in order to get clearance for getting big projects accomplished. What stringent measures can be taken by the state government as well as NGT to ensure it is enforced?
I will answer this question with an example. Like in Delhi, we used to have diesel vehicles as public transport, and there was a lot of pollution on the roads of Delhi. So when Supreme Court and NGT stepped in, they directed the governments to convert their public vehicles into CNG. So after converting all the public vehicles into CNG and banning the diesel vehicles flying on the roads of Delhi, commercial vehicles, so we can see the change. There's no pollution caused by the vehicles, public vehicles, and all over India we are adopting. This is called sustainable development. It is not like the government is not doing anything or courts are not doing anything. Yes, there is a lack of implementation of the laws which are there. So I'll give you one more example. Stubble burning is banned in Punjab, UP, Rajasthan, Haryana. In 4 the states, stubble burning was banned in the year 2008, and we are in 2020. Still, stubble burning is going on. Why is it so? Because the poor farmers, there is a window of 15 to 16 days. There is no alternative available with the farmers but to put their field on fire. So governments are trying to evaluate, governments are trying to find other ways so that the farmer, we cannot force anybody that you just keep your waste, collect it, and you cannot pollute in this way, but you can pollute after 2-3 months in other way. First, we have to see what is the solution for that. So we are trying to find out the solutions in both the cases. Then only environment can be safe or environment can be protected in future.
Yes, sir, that was well answered, and you have covered by giving proper example also. Now, taking the next question, it is asked by Ms. Rama. Your take on the recent Kerala elephant matter. So I think we are all very saddened to hear that news. And in fact, we have got different stories from different people about the incident. So what is your take, sir?
It is very unfortunate. First of all, I would say it is very unfortunate incident, and I would not comment on this. Reason being, this matter is sub judice. Court is looking into the matter and inquiry is going on. Let the inquiry come and let the court pass an order. Then we have something to discuss upon it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But in fact, one thing we can surely say is it is very unfortunate and it is very shocking.
It is very unfortunate. It is very unfortunate.
Yes. Sir, the next question is by Advocate Dhaval Unial. Sir, can Supreme Court take suo motu decision after the judgment from NGT?
Supreme Court has the power. Supreme Court is the apex court of our country. If Supreme Court thinks so, nobody can stop them. Definitely, Supreme Court is the highest court of our country.
Sir, just tipping one more question with this question. Sir, do you think NGT or for for the Supreme Court for that matter, taking up suo motu cases on a regular basis or matters which are coming to their notice? Or do you think it is still in baby stages and that NGT needs to look into matters more frequently and take suo motu cognizance of matters more frequently?
I agree on this. And I would say that NGT should take all the, I talked about the municipal solid waste management. It is all over in the newspapers and in the electronic media. NGT should have taken the suo motu action on it as well.
Yes, sir. Thank you. The next question is by Ms. Parinita Goswami. Illegal construction by violating environment laws. Recent case on Telangana minister by NGT. Please enlighten this case, sir.
Illegal construction is covered under the construction and demolition rules. There are laws to be followed while doing construction. if anybody is found doing illegal construction, so as per the NGT Act or as per the construction and demolition rules, there are provisions to punish them, and there are provisions for imprisonment as well in the NGT Act, because NGT is been given the power of civil code under Civil Procedure Code, and under Order 21 there is a provision for punishment also. So yes, if there is any illegal construction, and as far as the case mentioned by you, there would be, after going through the certain details of that matter, NGT would definitely pass the appropriate orders.
Yes, sir. Now moving to the next question, it is by Ms. Rinku Savla. What is your view in amendment to environment laws as far as future course of actions are concerned? So I think it is high time we discuss these matters now in this lockdown, because most of the people here find time to discuss these kind of matters. In fact, we are moving in mad rush once the lockdown is lifted. So this is the best time, I think. Your views, sir.
And my view on this is, first, there are apt laws available on environment. The problem is on the implementation of those laws. As a legal practitioners, what we have to see is, we have to move RTI applications and we have to procure all the documents which are there in the public domain, and we have to see whether the project proponents, whether the industrialists are following their conditions as per the environmental clearance, or as per the consent to operate, or as per the consent to establishment. If they are not following it, then come to the court, because NGT is very approachable. Anybody can come to NGT by moving an application on email. There is no court fees required. There is no format required. You can file it through email. So do it, because there are apt laws. There are many laws available, but implementation of those laws, flouting those laws is very, people are doing it. So we should stop them. We should come into the picture. We should educate our clients or our friends on this.
So just adding one more point, it is the responsibility of each and every one of us to play our bit in these matters. We should not just point our fingers to others to take action. If we are concerned about a particular matter, it is for us to play our part in this. So I completely concur with our special speaker's views in this. Thank you, sir. Moving on to the next question. Please enlighten us it is by Ms. Priyanka Singh again. Please enlighten us on the latest major amendments proposed in the NGT Act. So you are, we can call without any doubt, as you are the one of the most experienced and eligible person to answer these questions. And in fact, we would like to hear it from you, like a person who is an insider in the NGT matters. Yes, sir.
Again, I would say those amendments are challenged before the Honorable Supreme Court of India, and Honorable Supreme Court of India is looking into the matter. I think it is very premature when matter is adjudicated by the Honorable Supreme Court of India regarding the appointment and regarding the chairperson of NGT. So once the judgment will come, then definitely we can deliberate upon that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We are very much looking forward on your comments, sir. Once this matter comes up, so we would like to arrange one more special webinar with you, so that the participants would also be getting benefit out of your hands-on experience on dealing these kind of matters. So moving on to the next one, it is again by Dr. A. Mohammad Rafi. He has asked me to share my personal experience on Tamil Nadu State 8-way road. Dr. Rafiji, I think I will definitely answer this question, but once our special speaker answers the rest of the questions, I would definitely love to answer on these points. So,
Anand bhai, I want to listen you. You answer this question first. What is your take on this?
Yes, sir. With your permission, I would just like to comment on my views on this in this particular matter with regard to Salem 8-way road. So this was in news for various reasons throughout 2018-19, late 2018 and 2019. And as far as the records are concerned, or if we are going through the proposed plan, it was mentioned that it was proposed for the development and for easy access from Chennai to Salem in Tamil Nadu. Sir, as far as I am concerned, any development, if it is not affecting our environment, if it is not depriving our farmers, or for that matter, any particular section of society as a whole, that development is a welcome development. But at the same time, if there are concerns on about the current issue, or that is for this construction of road by any of these interested parties or the stakeholders, I think the government should consider going for a peaceful negotiation, or for that matter a pep talk or one-on-one session with those stakeholders who are having direct interest on that matter. I think the government of Tamil Nadu handled that matter pretty well, but I am sure there are people who would differ from my opinion. But again, I am reiterating, when there is a need for development, that should not be at the cost of depriving us of our natural resources. This one, we can find alternate routes, or we can study more on this and come up with better results. We can constitute an expert panel with this regard. But I am sure our Honorable Supreme Court is watching, the NGT is watching, the government of Tamil Nadu and as well as the central government will take necessary steps in this regard and come up with a better solution. If not, the present plan is not suitable or convenient for few people. But at the same time, I would like to just add one more point. The so-called interest groups should not make it up a point to stop development as a whole whenever the government introduces new schemes or new projects. The so-called environmental activists who may have vested interest according to sources that are being published by so many people in public domain, I feel these people, it is high time for these people to understand that even development is absolutely necessary for overall growth of our state in particular, and as well as for our country as a whole. The environmental activists, those who are environment activists, should also know that without development, there will not be any improvement in the present lifestyle of our country. So development vis-a-vis protection of our environment should go hand in hand, and the fine line should not be crossed by either parties.
I would add to this, Mr. Anand, that
Yes.
when you talked about the affected parties in the environment clearance procedure, they have to provide all personal hearing to all the stakeholders of that area, and they are direct. There are provisions that they should take their objections. They should note their objections, and before giving the environment clearance, they should dispose of all the grievances of the stakeholders.
Yes, sir.
It is
Yes.
the duty of the government while giving the environment clearance.
Yes, sir. Constructive criticism from any person, whether he is a stakeholder or for that matter, any individual, any citizen of India, it is welcome. Constructive criticism is always welcomed by our government or for that matter, our honorable courts. But just for the want of criticism or just for the want of fame or for name shaming the government and stopping it from conducting or making development and getting inroads into the future, the so-called activists should not intervene or just disturb the government. That is what my point is. Of course, the honorable courts have directed the government to conduct these kind of meetings and redress their grievances. No doubt, our government will also take steps. But at the same time, these people should not make it a point for just for the want of money, fame, or for that matter, any other for their personal benefit, should not stop the overall development of a particular state or country as a whole. That is my take, sir. The vested interest should not come into force. These people should at most devote their activities or their focus on development and sustainable development. But we get to know from closed sources that there are few people who are having vested interest in these projects are trying to stop, or maybe the other people who are trying to implement, but better known to the government. We leave it to them for taking steps in this matter, and we may find it. What do you call? We may expect a better result from these projects in the near future, sir. So moving on to the next question. It is by Mr. Jay Jain. Sir, how will you get to know that particular industry is not complying with the particular laws, as the industries restrict the entry to their factories and would not provide the information of their installations to comply with the laws?
It is a very relevant question. As I earlier told, that there are certain conditions put by the state pollution control boards which industries are required to follow. Those documents are available in public domain, and you can procure the documents of industry as well from the same department, whether they have fulfilled all the conditions or not. Like if they have to install a air filter or a CETP, effluent treatment plant, so they have to submit all the bills with the concerned state pollution control board. If they have not submitted it, then definitely you can come to court. All the documents are there in public domain. What you have to do is move an application under RTI Act to the State Pollution Control Board, and you will get all the documents filed by the industrialist, and you can check with that bill, cross-check with that bills with the person from whom they purchased it, whether it was purchased or not, or when it was delivered, or whether it is serviced regularly or not, whether it is operating or not, because you can cross-check it with the electricity bills of the industry as well. Electricity bills are also available with the electricity department. You can procure it.
Yes, sir. People should also start using the information available in public domain in a much better way. Just adding one more point in this, with regard to the factories who are having information, do not allow people to enter their factories. I just beg to differ in this. There are audits being conducted, external audits by the government agencies and also by other pollution control board and other agencies who are having interest in these type of industries. And even for that matter, any public who would like to enter into the particular factory may just give a letter in writing stating the reasons as to why he would like to visit that factory, so that he would get permission from the necessary authority. So these points, I think these are the points to be highlighted and made aware to all the people as a whole. You know, there are audits being conducted, there are being other points that are being watched or monitored by other agencies, especially these agencies related to pollution control. So I think everywhere there are so many agencies who act as watchdog for these type of industries. So I think there are few checks and balances here and there built by our government to have control over these kind of industries who are, as a matter of fact, are big players in this this thing in our field, whether it may be cement factories, big cement factories, or for that matter any waste disposable or waste reusable factories. Any factory for that matter has got their own checks and balances in place. Your views,
Mr. Anand, I would differ in this. First is there are periodical surprise checks done by the state pollution control boards, and they don't allow any private person to enter the premises of industrialist, and you can check their reports only. First, I will answer the question of Mr. J. Jain, that how would they come to know that this industry is polluting? So there are two sources of industry when they pollute. One is air pollution and second is water pollution. So you can easily find out which industry is polluting or which industry is not polluting. If there are emissions from air, then the smell and the air quality of that area would be bad within 10 or 15 days or within 1 month. So that is the sign. And after that, you can make an application to the state pollution control board that the air pollution of my area or that concerned area near the factory is not as per the certain parameters. So second is, if they have not installed the effluent treatment plant, so they have to discharge their effluent somewhere. So you have to check that point where they are discharging their effluent. So just collect a sample from that place and get it tested in any private lab, and then you can move an application before the State Pollution Control Board complaining that he is not following the certain parameters, because everybody is discharging their waste somewhere or the else, or you can collect it. So otherwise they will not allow you to enter the premises, and government also stops you.
No, sir. I just wanted to tell you there are external agencies who are continuously monitoring these kind of industries. Was my point. There are checks and balances created as
Yes.
a whole by our government.
Like in Delhi, Burelal Committee is taking care of it as per the orders of Supreme Court.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Moving on to the next question. It is by Ms. Sangeeta Tak. It is submission. It is feasible. Is it feasible if people wish to follow laws? These people follow the more stringent laws when they go abroad. They even even uneducated Indians follow the laws. So I think
number one, lack of knowledge
yes.
of environmental laws, and number two is execution of laws is bad in India. The executives who are executing the law on field, they fail to do so, and we have to take action. We have to take certain things in our hands. We have to be more vigilant. We have to complain against them to the State Pollution Control Boards and NGT. This
Yes.
is the only way out.
Yes. Sir, moving to the next question. These polluters have to be dragged to the courts and penalized severely. Only then they will follow the norms and rules, or else the nature will ruin us also.
Yes, NGT is like, or polluter pay principle is like, if you have damaged the environment for 1 crore rupees, NGT will punish you with 10 crores.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes.
10 times they recover.
Yes. So moving to the next question, it is by Mr. Yogesh Kulkarni. Sir, your opinion on current structure of NGT. Is it satisfactory or still needed some major changes? Kindly share your views. So again, there will not be a better person than you to answer this, sir.
Current scenario of NGT is like principal bench is operating. The number of judges or expert members, government should recruit them. They are very less. Bhopal bench, Pune bench, they are not working. There is a matter pending before the Honorable Supreme Court for this issue only, that government should fill up all the posts created under the NGT Act, which after the retirement of Justice Tantar Kumar is very less in number. So once they are full-fledged in number, then definitely they can take up more matters. Like everybody cannot come to Delhi, so they had 4 other benches, so which are closed these days. So the people of Pune or Bhopal, they can file their cases there, and they can appear in their matters, and they can pursue their matters over there very easily. They cannot come to Delhi. So I think they should increase the numbers of judges or expert members to hold the zonal benches.
Yes, sir, very true. So moving to the next question, it is again by Mr. Jai Jain. Sir, these audits like done by CIA, but sir, they are okay on papers, but in reality, I think Mr. Jai, I think you can personally connect with our special speaker. I think you have got a lot of questions, but for the want of time, we are just, and I think these questions have been already adequately answered by our speaker. And for the want of time, I would like to move to the next question. It is by Mr. Anurag Agarwal. Can NGT take sumoto cognizance? Yes, I think we have also covered this topic on this question adequately. So, with your permission,
NGT has taken almost all the matters sumoto only.
Yes, yes. Sir, the next question, again by Mr. Dr. A. Muhammad Rafi. What measures are being taken by the Ministry of Forest and Environment for giving environmental awareness to various sections of people in India right now?
Sir, as per them, they are educating, they are issuing in in newspapers also, through electronic media also. They are spreading the knowledge of environmental laws all over the country, but I think it is not adequate. They should actively do it, and there has to be more awareness on environment. The municipal bodies, the pollution control board, state boards, they should be sensitized about the environment. I had my personal experience with the officers, senior officers of municipal boards, who doesn't even know about the municipal solid waste rules, and they are the officers who are there to implement the rules. So this is the sorry state which we are in. So I think education is required. Environment education is required. India is lacking in it. We should sensitize it much.
Yes, sir. Environmental education is of utmost importance, and I feel personally this should be started right from the schooling. In
Yes,
school,
very important.
special subject or a particular subject, if not for passing, at least for awareness, this should be created. So that the students are also not put under pressure. But this, as a class, or making awareness, this has to be started from the school to colleges and to all the organizations in the next level. So it is high time the ministry also takes this matter into consideration, and especially the words from you. I think this will reach them definitely, and they will take action on these matters. Legal education, environmental education particularly. Sir, moving on to the next question. This was asked by Mr. Ramani in Facebook. Actually, once I posted your this thing about your webinar, the special webinar, he asked me this question in Facebook. I would like just to add, I would like just to read the question, and if possible, you can just answer it within some 10 to 20 minutes. Sorry, in just another 10 minutes, we'll just wrap this session. The question is, it is not just the laws. The strict enforcement and quick hearing of cases for speedy justice is the need of the hour. Unless the management is criminally liable for negligence resulting in death or grievous injuries, safety laws will not be taken for granted. The strict implementation is of utmost importance. Yes, everyone agrees. But what is your take on the other aspects, sir? Criminal liability on the part of the management for their negligence resulting in death or grievous injury.
As I said earlier, Section 20 of NGT Act provides polluter pay principle. So, as per the polluter's pay principle, NGT can levy penalties to recover the environment and to sustain the environment. And if that person fails to pay the amount, then NGT has the power under Order 21 of CPC to send that person to imprisonment. Otherwise, there is a long procedure to follow. But under polluter's pay principle, NGT has the powers to levy penalties only to recover what damage has been done to the environment. Yes, and NGT is very approachable. NGT is very approachable. You can move an application through email, and NGT is entertaining each and every application. NGT is the most easy forum to approach in the India as of now. NGT is online for last 3-4 years, and the process is very easy. Anybody can come, anybody can move an application in NGT, and there is no court fees.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, I think with these questions, we wrap this session for today, the special webinar for today. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for conducting this wonderful, lively and interactive session, sir. The knowledge transfer which you have given today will adequately benefit all the participants today. When I approached you, you accepted our invitation without any second thought, sir. For that, I would again like to thank you on behalf of our entire team. And it is a duty on my part to thank all the attendees here. they have been very interactive and have been asking the questions without any inhibitions. Initially, when I thought this environment loss, there are so much of webinars being conducted about lockdowns, corona, and effect of pandemic and all. I thought whether people will be interested in attending such type of seminars with regard to role of NGT in environment loss. But to our surprise, we have got overwhelming response from the participants today, and the way in which they ask the questions proves that they have also prepared and done their homework before coming to this session. I thank each and every attendees here in this special webinar, and I also thank our support staff and our team members for continuously and painstakingly working throughout 24/7 for making this special seminar a grand success. And sir, I would like you to just tell if you have any points to tell. Then I will formally I will wrap this session, sir.
I would like to thank everyone. I would like to thank everyone for sparing your time for environment laws in India and for showing your concerns. And if you have any queries, any further queries, if you want to discuss anything about environmental law, my email ID and my mobile number both are available with Mr. Anand. You can put your queries through email. I will answer each and every query of you, and you can approach me anytime. And thank you so much for having me here with you and listening to me.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your kind gesture of answering the questions and also answering the questions in future. And in principle, we would like to tell you that these webinars we started just for out of passion, but these webinars are turning out to be a wonderful learning session and knowledge transfer session. And I hope and we sincerely request you to come and participate in our seminars in the upcoming seminars in near future also, sir.
Sure. I would love to. I would love to be part of. If my knowledge is of use of anybody, then definitely I would love to be part of your seminars, webinars in future as well.
Thank you, sir. And for the attendees, there are exciting webinars coming up in the the coming weeks. We have our next seminar on Thursday, and then again on Sunday. For this continuous month, we have been getting introducing special speakers to you, and I hope you all would love to participate in this and gain knowledge in this. As far as participation certificate is concerned, all of you will be getting certificate of participation in this, and those who are all our patrons who have been continuously supporting us in all our webinars right from the first webinar. If any one of you have not received the certificate so far, you may kindly leave a message to me, or you can email us at aplegalchambers info@aplegalchambers.com, and we would definitely look into this matter and disperse the certificates as soon as possible. And with regard to the certificate for this current webinar, you will be receiving it very shortly. I thank each and every one of you from bottom of my heart and from my whole team for participating in this session, engaging in this session, and sharing your views without any inhibitions whatsoever. Thank you all. Thank you very much. We will all meet in the next session. Thank you.